Maria, thank you so much for spending a few minutes with me. Congratulations on the ritual. Let's get right into it. Tell me a little bit about Sister Camila.
Hi, thank you for having me. Sister Camila, it's a very beautiful, interesting character. I think that's something that Sister Camila brings into the story is her immigration side. We don't see this in the movie, but we kind of like created that backstory that back in 1920s, there was a lot of immigration happening from Mexico to the States, and it was a really tough time. And that kind of like heightened the stakes for her because she comes to this convent looking for hope, looking for help, and then she finds the most horrible thing that can happen to you, which is the exorcism. And yeah, she is a story of like resilience and toughness and hardship, and also like a lot of like spirituality and belief in the way.
Something really interesting you mentioned to me with that is saying, it's not really addressed in the film, but how important is it for the characters to have their established backstories, despite of what we may see on the screen?
Yeah, I think the backstories for any character that you portray is just fundamental. Like it really helps you ground what you're doing, and it really helps you connect more to like what is it that you are bringing to the story. If you know where you stand, it's kind of like you know how to move, and that's kind of like how I feel that a context and really doing your research and preparing for a role helps.
Yeah, 100%. Now, one of the things that I find really interesting in the subgenre of horror when it comes to like exorcism is the way that a lot of it takes place in like a singular room or like in very, very specific places. We don't get to travel a lot. Maybe there's some cutscenes and setup things, but mostly it's in that room, it's in that cellar. And it feels more like theater. Would you say that it feels a little bit more theatrical as far as like almost like a performance rather than cinematic?
That's a very interesting thing. Yeah, definitely felt like a theater show, kind of like when you do those um off Broadway kind of like shows where like you walk into a room and like you find different things. It definitely felt like that. And each room had like its own attributes. So that was a really fun exercise. Like you were not coming to like a set designed, and like it was there. It was real, and it was you just have to come through. And of course, like the performances of the actors that we have in this movie, like it gave more of a theatrical kind of like feeling. Everyone was like on their feet, just very grounded and very intense, giving like all their emotional intensity.
And speaking of that, I do want to ask you, talk to me about Abigail Cohen's, transformation and just watching her go through those scenes. Because a lot of times you guys are all standing around and it's happening. Talk to me about how you felt watching that. Because, what's one thing, because we know this is based on a sanctioned exorcism that we've seen for the church, and you kind of get to live it in a sense.
Yeah, yeah, you definitely live all everything that's going on. Abigail, you like I felt for her because she went through like such intensity. Like you could see her body, I mean, with just makeup, but like also her body just changing. She was so tired. Like she was demanded to do so much, to give so much, and to just inhabit this thing that she had to go through. So you definitely could see like all the changes. And then, it's a very, how do you say that? Like a very intense and like a very kind of like real way that it kind of started like wearing people off. Like by the end of the movie, people were like, I'm done. This is it. I don't want to do any other exorcism. This is it for me.
How do you feel about the horror genre in general and working in it and starring in it and being able to play these characters in these situations?
I think this what drew me to this one was kind of like the real life events and based in a real life story. I would say that a horror, normal horror, kind of like jump scare kind of movie, I wouldn't be that drawn into it. But this one, what I really kind of like grabbed my attention was how, yeah, how based on someone's life it could be and how close to home it could be. So yeah.
Yeah, it feels like quite the study, right? Because like I said, it feels a little bit more like theater, and it's based on something that actually happened based on all the documentation. And then also you got Al Pacino and Dan Stevens working with you, right? So you must have had a great time on set.
It was very interesting. I definitely like found myself just doing like a master class with them. They're all just, the kind of like talent they have is so unique and so real and so powerful. Like just like the simple voice can resonate like a whole room, and I was like very mesmerized by that. Um, that was very interesting, and of course, like the script itself gave us so much, like the story based on real life. Like there were so many things that just made us feel like we didn't even have to act, like this was happening to all of us.
Yeah, it was very well done. I enjoyed it quite a bit. Maria, thank you so much for a few minutes of your time. I appreciate it. Appreciated the movie, and thank you for a little bit of insight. It was a great chat with you.
Thank you for the time.